The mainstream media discussing the CIA's Mkultra program and their experiments is simply a precursor for what is to come as reveals become deeper and deeper. And essentially, what this is the precursor for is the disclosure of the black box programs that have been sanctioned by the shadow government and these factions that are not in the public eye, the ones that are not as known as the CIA, the FBI, and the likes. The CIA is going to take the hit, and they are taking the hit in the media for the press right now, and this is to further assist Americans in awakening to the truths that have been hidden from them, the things that have been operating around them and even to them that they were not privy to. The US government in particular has erected a system to monitor the lives of everyday Americans far deeper than any public model that has been established that is known. Any system of surveillance that we are aware of, this is 10 times deeper, 10 times worse, and 10 times more sinister. Into the community-sanctioned harassment of certain individuals, such as the gang stalking programs, which are much more popular now than they were about 2 years ago when I was first discovering what that was and why that was happening to me personally. The noise campaigns, the intentional isolation, all of these things that are done with certain goals in mind. They're not just done for no reason, and I'll get into that. The Mkultra experiments, the programs, they never went away, they just moved off the books. They became black box programs. So they went from testing on test subjects that were in the know of the test and moved to testing on unknowing or ignorant civilians for the ultimate blind study. How this was done was essentially they would lock in on a target that would be their test subject, and there are reasons why these people in particular are selected and not selected at random. The community is then told to keep a close eye on that person because they are a threat to society, and in a way they are, but not in the way that they're being told, the community is being told that they're a threat. They target them through false campaigns, target people through saying that they are under investigation, that they're suspected of a crime, or they are hostile and dangerous, whatever they can to tell these people that, hey, we need your help in assisting us in this problem. But what's actually happening is these people that they then put in the arena with the test subject become the test dummies, because this is a double-blind study. These people don't know that while they are monitoring the test subject, they are being monitored outside of them by someone else, by a faction of people who are actually monitoring the entire situation, the whole arena. So the test dummies are unaware that they are entering into an arena with something far greater than them to be test dummies, and they are in a double-blind study. These faceless people are running field tests to see what happens around the test subject. They do not put themselves in the line of fire because they have an understanding by now of what goes on with and around that test subject, that lone person that they selected for great reason to monitor and essentially put them through stress tests. All involved are monitored 24/7 from wake to sleep, and there are groups upon groups of people who are monitoring the situation. The government is very aware that not everyone here is the same, that there are people here who are gifted, who have abilities like ESP and other things like that, and they are unlike the general population. Certain traumas, certain experiences can heighten these gifts or even unlock them in a person. They can turn them on through trauma. Think of the movie Carrie. She tweaked out and lit that whole thing up like that. The stalking, the noise campaigns, the sleep deprivation, they're all methods utilized to push a trauma onto a person to see if they bend, break, or if they evolve. The stress tests are meant to force the unawakened DNA, to force the ability out of its dormancy. to make it through these tests that are being done on them without their knowledge and without their permission become the ultimate weapons. However, most people who are subjected to this do crumble under the weight of it, because not only are you being harassed consistently, they are doing things to make you question your reality. And not only are they doing things to make you question your reality, they are taking everything away from you that will support you while they're doing all of that other stuff to you. It would drive the average person insane. The people who are utilized as test dummies are consistently switched out because most of the time they drop like flies. They often go into this thinking they received a good deal. They get to stay home. All they have to do is monitor someone or make a noise at this time or do this at this time. Or all they have to do is promote fear or incite this at this time. It's all really timing based. All they have to do is this one thing at this time. But here's the thing. The government does this because they're testing a response, and the response does not always come from the test subject. The government has recognized through these experiences through time is that these people, the test subjects, they do not often have to act on their own accord. There is something greater than them that acts for them, acts around them. They become a phenomenon in their self. Strange things happen around these people that cannot be explained, and if they were not witnessed by the 24/7 monitoring, people would not believe they exist at all. Bad things begin to happen to the test dummies almost instantly as they take the deal to come in and behave whatever way they behave, to take on this identity of pushing a burden onto someone else to break them. And they think they're doing a service to their community. They think they're doing a service to their government. They think they're doing a service and that they're getting paid for their service. But no, their life is being put on the line. It has been observed that bad things begin to happen almost naturally to these people, but it is so coincidental that it's not coincidental and it's not natural in the slightest bit. Their lives begin to fall apart at the seams the moment they step into that arena with the test subject. All the while, the test subject does not have to be aware of it at all. It just happens around them like they're in the eye of the storm. And that's what they're really interested in, these factions who monitor. They think that the people who go into this to test dummies, they think that they're monitoring the subject. But no, what's happening is they're being placed in an arena and they're all being monitored, every single person, because it's not just like 2 or 3 people. It's entire communities that are brought into this arena with this test subject to monitor what happens to them as they are going after this one person. So the government is recording the responses of the test subject while also recording what is happening to their test dummies, who are continuously switched out because bad things happen to them. They either just drop out, they drop like flies. They can't handle the weight of what happens to them in response to what they're doing to this singular person. So our government has been coming out and they are doing all of this rapid revealing of information, and essentially what they have gotten to is that not everyone here is human, not everyone here is like the other. They are getting to the point where they're going to come out and tell us, or they already have in certain ways, that there are other beings who occupy this space with us. Even if we cannot see them, they are there. And there are guardians for some people. Usually the test subjects come equipped with a guardian-like structure that is not seen by the physical eye, and it's not even felt sometimes, but it is there. And once provoked, once attacked, they act on behalf of this singular person. Now, say that the test subject does decide to act on their own accord instead of letting some higher power or just being unaware in general. Say they decide that, hey, these people are doing something bad to me, and I don't like this. They decide to take matters into their own hands. Think of a witch. That's a good one. Think of a witch who decides, I see what you people are doing to me, and I don't like this, and I'm going to make you stop. This witch will then go out and curse these people. And what happens is this person has been already put through so much stress testing that their power has grown exponentially. So what they do back is devastating. The smallest touch of a finger becomes a devastating cascade of waves through these people's lives. And that is monitored too. The shadow factions are terrified and amazed all in one as they have been witnessing this. And they have been doing this for a very long time. So they keep a super close eye on all involved, especially the civilians that they're sending in, because they want to see what happens next. It's like a TV show that you cannot turn off. And that's why they keep doing this. They are really interested in seeing how much pressure can this test subject take before they break. Will they break? And what happens if they do not break? More often than not, they do break. These are like warfare tactics, mind warfare being done on these people day in and day out, every single day of their lives, where they are consistently monitored, they are harassed, and people do things to them that should not be happening on a consistent basis, to where it is impossible to ignore them because it's so consistent. They do expect for the test subject to go insane. That's what these methods being deployed are for. And if that does happen, that is crossing something off of their list, because again, these people are in a way threats to society. Their abilities, their gifts are considered threats to society. So they're never actually quite prepared for the moment where someone beats out that system that's set up around them, because they weren't prepared for that outcome in general. They always expected for all of them to fail. So if there are 100%, if there are 100 participants in a given game, 100 of them being test subjects, and then there are thousands of test dummies, 99 out of those 100 test subjects are crushed under the weight of what is being done to them. But that one, they are never prepared for that 1%. That one germ that survived the Clorox wipe and becomes a mutant germ, they're creating winter soldiers. Quite literally creating winter soldiers. People who would have had these gifts activated through time naturally as they went about their lives, or maybe not even, because a lot of this is trauma-based activation. When we think about evolution, there were a lot of things that happened where bad things happened and evolution came from those bad things. They are forcing evolution upon these beings and creating winter soldiers. So again, these MKUltra reveals are just simply awakening Americans, getting them acquainted with the horrors that are happening beyond their line of sight. They're learning what the government has been doing to people around them, and even to them without their permission. Something else I want to get into, because again, these experiments are not just for funsies. They're not just to turn people into winter soldiers. There is an ultimate goal here. They are aware that people here have these latent abilities that are within them, that are dormant within them, that can be awakened. They are aware of that now. They have seen it, they have noted it, it is recorded, and will probably be declassified in 100 years. Who knows? We need to get into the next aspect of that. They're eventually going to start offering for people to serve out their prison sentences through the mind, where essentially they implant a chip, or they just do something to your mind to where you essentially serve 10, 50, 100 years of a sentencing within minutes, within moments, right? So what's happening when that is done is you are experiencing all of the traumas through which you would have went through in prison being injected directly into your mind, into your subconscious, right into you. You have all of those traumas immediately weighted upon you. So people go to jail and they don't come out the same thing, except instead of serving their prison time manually, they're serving it through the mind instantly. And that's not without purpose. The ultimate goal of these people is to be able to have those same abilities within themselves. They don't want to just create winter soldiers. They want to become the winter soldiers. And once they know that it's possible, that it's safe to do so, they're going to begin doing it to themselves, so that they are the apex predator. They're not just going to create winter soldiers and have no way to combat that. And it's not even that they're creating them, they're just awakening them, but they want to create this within themselves. So all this is connected. They're going to monitor what happens when you inject these traumas into the brain directly. What happens to these people who are injected with these sentencings, with this trauma? If you inject the trauma, does the awakening happen the same way? Is it farther advanced? If you serve 1,000 years of a prison sentence in 5 minutes, if you go through 6 lifetimes of trauma in 10 minutes, do you get those same abilities unlocked? Does it work the same way, or are you locked out? So they're going to test it on prisoners to see how they come out, how they fare, what these traumas do to them. Will they be able to be reintegrated? Are their brains going to turn to mush? And when you're thinking about Project Artichoke, this is another one of those Mkultra programs. One of their main objectives was to test on federal prisoners because they are, like, it's on the top of my tongue, the most desperate. The federal prisoners are the most desperate for a lessened sentence, for greater perks. So, and not to mention that there's so much more space in these prisons to operate on these people. So they were able to keep it essentially off the books, even though we have these in the Project Artichoke documents, which I have uploaded onto my TikTok before. I've done a video on the Project Artichoke, which is just like Mkultra amped up. Anyway, not going to get into that today. Anyway, they want to see if the people who they traumatize with their permission through their own minds, how they fare. Before they begin implementing this on themselves, they want to see, will these people make it? Will they survive? Will they fare well? And if they fare well, they move to the next phase where they're trying to see if these abilities arrive in them without the lived experience, because they're going to test it through the subconscious. You've experienced all this death, all this loss, all of this hunger. What will happen to you? Will it unlock your DNA the same way as a lived experience? Can they simulate a lived experience through the brain that will unlock these abilities? And then once they are able to say, okay, this works, they're going to move ahead to doing it to themselves, so long as their brain is not turned to goo. So, once they're able to see if it works, and if it does work, which I do think there are safeguards in place for this kind of thing. Nature always finds a way, which we discuss in my collective consciousness videos, where I'm talking about how they were locked out of the collective consciousness. They found a way in, so then these pocket consciousness bubbles were created that they don't have access to. There's always a way that's found. So, God forbid, even if they were able to find a way to witness this in these people, it won't work the same way in them. It won't work the same way in them. And also, these are the kind of people who would not be able to function with such traumas added onto them. They just wouldn't. So they're the type to implement the traumas, unlock the DNA, and then go back in and try to erase the trauma and then lose the gifts anyway. They wouldn't be gifts. They would be curses. So it generally doesn't matter, but all of this is connected in a way where they ran the original test, then they ran the field test, then they're going to move on to the next phase of the testing. And it's all just to get to them so that they can become the apex predator.